Will the market change in 2021, 2022? Many people expect a market crash. My name is Eddie Blanco. I'm the broker of Stratwell, and in today's episode, I'm going to cover exactly my opinion on what I think is going to happen, and I'm going to give you some things to look forward to in the market to come. I should start off with saying that I'm not a big fan of market predictions because there's so many variables. But in today's video, my hope is that I can teach you some of those variables and what to be looking out for to make your own predictions of what might happen. No one can predict all the variables and what might happen with them, but I'm going to talk to you about those variables so that you're informed and you know what's to come. I could tell you that I did successfully predict the 2006 market crash, and in 2006 I sold all the properties we owned in Miami at the top of the market. I did not predict a whole economic recession for the United States at the time. So there was definitely some learning curve there, but the market in Miami we knew was overinflated, and we had some real good information on that and expected the market to turn. First, let's talk about what's going on right now, and let's talk about the July market, right? So if you want, take a moment now to subscribe, like, and share this video with anybody you think would be interested in knowing more about the market. First, let's talk about where we're at in the market today. As of the end of July, we saw a month-over-month increase, median sale price in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. Almost 6% increase. And if you want more information about the July report, we did a whole video on July market. So check that out, it's on our page. In June, the labor's market statistics said that we had 10.2% unemployment rate in the United States. With a 10.2 unemployment rate, you would expect that real estate values would be declining based on historical data. However, things that are unhistorical and unprecedented have happened, and I'm going to cover that in the video so that you're clear about what's holding up the real estate market. Now, two things. Number one is interest rates are at all-time low. We're under 3% compared to over 3%, 3.5%, 3.6% interest rates that we were seeing just at the beginning of the pandemic. That makes a huge difference in buying power, and it's caused the buyers to be more excited about the market. They're coming into the market. So there's a high increase of demand for housing now. At the same time, inventory has gone down. And with inventory going down and demand going up, that's sure to raise prices. But why is inventory going down? Well, that's because of several factors that I cover in the video in July. But essentially, there's less people wanting to put their house on the market because of COVID concerns and health risk. There are less people putting their house on the market because their house is currently rented by a tenant they cannot evict, or that they're not making their own mortgage payments, but they have mortgage forbearance, so they're able to extend that stay in that home. They cannot be evicted. So there's an unnatural market condition right now as a result of the CARES Act that was passed, where a bunch of laws were put in place to kick the can of this problem, COVID, until we can get back to normalcy in our economy. So the CARES Act put in a bunch of things in place. Number one is mortgage forbearance. And if you want to learn more about what mortgage forbearance is, there's a video on this page about mortgage forbearance. You can learn all about mortgage forbearance, my warnings about mortgage forbearance, and some solutions if you need to seek mortgage forbearance, what to do. But mortgage forbearance essentially gives a kick of the can, right? So if you're in a short-term financial burden and you need a break, there's a law enacted now. If it's a federally backed loan, essentially you can get up to 360 days without having to pay your mortgage. That's what's in place right now. And there's 4.7 million people taking advantage of that. To put that in perspective, there's about 5.5 million properties sold in 2019. So about that many people currently aren't paying their mortgage. That's a pretty crazy thought. Now, what's going to happen with those people would be a big impact on what happens in 2021, 2022. If all of those people, if all of them went to foreclosure, we'd have a problem on our hands. But we're not expecting that to happen. But let's say 10%, 15, or maybe 20% of those. That's still like between 700,000 and 1 million borrowers going to foreclosure or deciding to sell their home. So there is an expected inventory that's going to come as a result of that. There's another thing that CARES Act did, put foreclosure and eviction moratoriums in place. So if you're not paying your mortgage and you're not paying your rent, nothing's happening right now. because you cannot be evicted from your home by federal law. Those federal laws have been extended until the end of August. At least Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA have decided that they're going to extend them until August 31st. That's a better way of saying it. And at the state level, different states have moratoriums in place. For example, Florida will not extend the mortgage moratorium until September 1st as of right now. We haven't heard from our governor what his plans are past September 1st. Here's my prediction. If nothing else is done by Congress, no further action is taken. My concern is that a lot of the homes that are not being paid on will end up being foreclosed and evicted. The people that are getting evicted will end up going to live with family members or friends, moving to less populated areas, moving to lower price rent areas, moving to smaller properties, essentially lowering the value of rents. That's what's going to happen. If that happens, if those people move to those different places and take those certain actions, that'll result in rents going down. If rents go down, then that puts pressure on landlords. Landlords may decide to put more houses on the market. So that's just like a downward slide, which isn't a good thing. That'll end up causing a supply of inventory on the market that cannot be met by the demand, which will then unbalance the supply and demand, driving prices down. I would expect prices to drive down 15 to 20% if no action is taken by the federal government. But that's the big if. I don't think that will happen. I believe that the federal government will, based on just our recent history of trillions of dollars in stimulus and multiple laws enacted, I expect the federal government to take further action. There is talk about further extensions and even more stimulus to people who aren't able to pay rents, for example. So if that happens, then that'll shore up what I'm saying could be a disaster. Hopefully that doesn't take place and our federal government, Congress enacts some changes. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do anything prior to recess. Trump did do an emergency order to push forward some initiatives, but that's not going to be enough. So we'll see how it takes place. The bottom line is no one really knows what's going to happen. I give you my prediction of what will happen if no other action is taken by the government, but that's not likely to happen. So we'll see what happens. So will Congress pass another stimulus? What's going to happen with COVID? Will we have another resurgence in the fall? Will our economy take back and start kicking back in place once all these COVID concerns are mitigated and gone down some? How will the stock market adjust to a new president? If we do have a new president, a Democrat in office, will the stock market take a dive? If the stock market takes a dive, that'll create a loss of income for a lot of people, a loss of savings for a lot of people. That might create a whole concern of where the economy is going, and that might trickle down into real estate as well. So those are some factors to consider. Will there be further mortgage foreclosure moratoriums or eviction moratoriums? Will Congress pass a stimulus package? These are all variables that no one knows the answers to. And without knowing the answers to these questions, we can't really predict what's going to happen with the housing. So keep your eye on all these, and also keep an eye on this channel so we can keep you up to date on what's happening in the real estate market on our month-to-month reports. I thank you very much for tuning in. If you like this video, please take a moment to like, share it, comment below. I appreciate your time in watching this video. Take care.